underachievers, overachievers, and pup-less probables. All that and more today as we march toward training camp beginning in less than 48 hours for your New England Patriots. I'm Mike Debate. You're about to be locked into the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful, and thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage and also your first listen every day. Don't forget, Locked On Patriots free and available on all platforms. Download, subscribe to, follow Locked On Patriots wherever you get your audio podcasts, and smash that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Your daily home for your six-time Super Bowl champions, the New England Patriots. And of course, I am your host, Mike Debate. I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country of Sports Illustrated. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at MDABATENFL. While you're out there showing some love to that Twitterverse, please be sure to follow the Locked On Patriots account as well at LO_Patriots. As you can see, Foxborough faithful, it is hashtag Locked On Murph Monday, and legendary Thomas Murphy going to join me. Pop in here in just a moment. But, of course, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, more odds, and more lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Patriots fans, as the late, great Gorilla Monsoon would say, the time for the talk has just about ended. Your New England Patriots conducting their first training session on July 27th, this coming Wednesday. Of course, all players required to report by Tuesday, July 26th. Players meeting with the media. Bill Belichick will meet with the media on Tuesday. We'll have you covered right here on Locked On Patriots for all the comings and goings in Foxborough this week. Team confirmed that practices will be open to the public. This week, 9:30 a.m. is the start time with gates opening for the fans at 8 a.m. So check Patriots.com. Stay up to date on the latest practice information for your New England Patriots if you're headed up to the Foxborough area. And if you are, definitely stop by and say hello. I would love to definitely interact with you guys. But joining me today here on the pod to help answer some of the most burning Patriots training camp questions is one of our very favorites here on the podcast. He is the only guest that we have, past, present, future, with his very own branded hashtag. That's right, folks. It is hashtag Locked On Murph Monday, and that means the legendary Count of Murphy Fisto himself, Thomas Murphy of E2Gsports.com, is here. Thank you for coming to me in friendship today, Don Murph.
Oh, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. First things first. Got to give a shout out to our good friend Evan Lazar,
Absolutely.
who is announced that he is joining Patriots.com to become one of their writers, and they. I don't want to say the new face, but Evan will be out there and in everybody's grill and letting you know what's happening. Congrats, Evan, on your new gig.
Absolutely. Could not have gone to a finer writer, finer
Right.
human being. Evan is a great friend of the program here on Locked On Patriots. Definitely have been a fan of the work that he's done for CLNS Media for a number of years. Whether you go back to his time with the Herald or his time with Pat's Pulpit. I mean, Evan has basically seen it all and done it all on the Patriots beat. And he continues to do great things. Patriots.com has got a good one. He's got a great home. They're a great group of guys over there, whether you're, talking about Paul, or you're talking about Fred, or you're talking about Mike Dussault, who's been on the show here as well. Just excellent people, working there. So they've got another good one. Patriots.com, once again, a great addition. Knocked it out of the park. So congratulations to Evan as well.
Yep.
Murph.
And to Patriots.com for making a great choice.
Absolutely. No question about it. And then definitely, a mutually beneficial situation.
Yeah.
And,
Sorry.
We're all about mutual beneficial situations when it comes to the New England Patriots. Quid pro quo, Murph. What's going to be beneficial for the Patriots? What's going to be beneficial for the players on the team? And last week we found out that the Patriots will start some of their roster, a handful of players, on the physically unable to perform list. The PUP list is what everyone calls it. James White, Jonathan Jones, David Andrews, Raekwon McMillan, Jabril Peppers. All of these guys have had their injury situations over the course of the offseason. So nobody on this list is a shock. None of them came as a shock to me. I was a little surprised about guys like maybe, McMillan or Peppers. I was really hoping that we'd get to see them right out of the gate. But the Patriots are taking a temperate approach, and I, for one, can't blame them. I think they're smart to do that. A couple of days ago here on the pod, I prognosticated that James White might be the guy that ends up starting the season on the PUP list, simply because of the nature of or IR, exactly. The nature of the hip subluxation is something that is very difficult to get over. There's no question about it. That's a tough rehab, and we know that James is serious about getting back out on the field, but also the Patriots have to err on the side of caution, and James does as well. But we know that not all of these players are going to start the season on an injured reserve or a PUP situation. These guys are going to eventually need to see the field. And a couple of these players, at least a couple of them, should come off the PUP list prior to the beginning of the season. My question to you today, my friend, is when you look at this roster and you look at the guys that are on PUP right now, beginning training camp, who has the best chance to come off of this list before the season gets going?
Well, I'm not a doctor, and I don't even play one on podcasts or streaming services. But I really believe that the man who needs to come off as soon as possible is Peppers. I think he will get off. Being a veteran and coming in to learn this defense and everything that's going on, and it's paramount that he gets on the field as quickly as possible. So I can't say who definitely will be off first, but I think Peppers or even McMillan are two guys that need to get off PUP and get on the field, so they're not just sitting there in meeting rooms going over game film. You need to be there. You need to get acquainted with your teammates, especially with how this defense is going to evolve this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're definitely onto something in terms of Peppers. I, for one, cannot wait to see him really take the field in a Patriots uniform and really be able to do some things. You get a very limited sample in OTA and in mini camp. There's not a lot that you can tell from what these guys are able to do. You get flashes of it. I mean, it's definitely, it's not useless time out there, folks. Nobody's saying that. But at the same time, there's also an opportunity, I think, for both of these players, or some of these players, I should say, to get in there and to make their mark in a Patriots uniform. You really don't need to question at this point what David Andrews brings to the table, what James White brings to the table, even Jonathan Jones to a degree. I mean, he's earned his stripes here in New England for being able to be one of the best slot corners. I think still one of the best slot corners in the game. And the Patriots are going to need that presence in the cornerback position without any question. We're going to talk about cornerbacks a little bit later in the week here as training camp kicks off. One of the burning questions on everybody's mind is who's going to take that second spot, who's going to be the cornerback rotation. If he's healthy, Jonathan Jones is going to play a big role in the slot this year, I think. I see your point on Peppers, and I definitely don't disagree with it. My choice was McMillan. And the reason why I say McMillan would be able to come off is because I saw him in OTA. We saw him in minicamp. He was getting a lot of reps with the starting unit. And this to me was an encouraging situation because if you look at one of the Patriots' biggest defensive struggles in 2021, it was a lack of speed in executing their coverage assignments. This is something that I think McMillan can be a hand in glove fit. He was expected to compete for that spot last year. And really, in training camp, you saw him applying pressure. You saw him getting to the quarterback. He was providing great coverage in his assignments. He looked good. He was well on his way, I think, to earning a roster spot. ACL tear comes, obviously tragically ends his season before he's able to get back out there on the field. But his impressive play in OTA and minicamp that year really, I think, gave him a little bit of a leg up on the competition. To see him kind of jump right back into what that role was last year, to me, I think that was very, very telling. So we'll see if McMillan is able to come off. I think if he does, it's definitely a great thing for the New England Patriots. and a great thing for their opportunities, and getting where they need to be. But ultimately, these guys coming off of the pup list is just one more sign. It's just one more, cog
Yep.
in the wheel for the
Yep.
Patriots to build their roster and be able to move forward within the season. Murph, it's always fun talking about guys that, have the potential, have, a great opportunity to do something special on the field. We're not quite done with that talk yet, folks, but we're also going to talk about a player that may not be able to live up to the hype. Murph and I may have differing opinions on who that player might be. We're going to talk camp underachievers in just a moment when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues. But first, if you're looking to enrich your sports fandom a little bit this off season, heading into the 2022 regular season for the NFL, folks, there's still plenty of sports to be able to do it right this very minute. And if you're going to do that, definitely take advantage of the great offers that our good friends at betonline.net offer every single day. They are your number one source for all of your sports betting needs and sports information. Find all of the latest developments, league reviews, and news at BetOnline, your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check on all of your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Patriots fans, it is always an honor, always my privilege to be joined by the great, the legendary Conor Murphy Fisto himself, Thomas Murphy of E2Gsports.com. And Murph, in the previous segment, we talked a little bit about some of the players that might come off of the pup list early, give the Patriots a little bit of a boost in terms of their roster prowess. But every year, we have our share of overachievers, our share of underachievers, those that exceed our expectations, and those players that can't quite live up to the hype. And this season, the Patriots have some new faces we're looking forward to seeing.
Yep.
Devontae Parker, obviously, at the wide receiver position. Jabril Peppers, we talked about him in the previous segment. When healthy, everybody's going to be focusing on him. Mack Wilson, a new linebacker coming in. What does this mean for the
Yep.
linebacking core for the Pats? You can't forget the rookies: Cole
Nope.
Strange, Tyquan Thornton, Pierre Strong. A lot of exciting rookies there. And then the veterans get thrown into the mix as well. Can't forget the vets on this team. But not every player is going to have a great camp, Murph. Some won't. And ultimately, it may cost them the spot on the team. There is a list of usual suspects that can fit the bill of those that may not live up to the challenge or may not make the grade. But I don't know if my list would coincide with yours. That's really one of the great things about lists like this is, you know what, Murph, variety is the spice of life.
Yep.
When you look at this roster, is there anybody that you look at that might underachieve heading into training camp and during training camp?
Yeah. Are you all sitting down? All
I
right.
am sitting down.
You're sitting down, but everybody else said Mac Jones.
Mm,
Okay, we have put so many expectations on a second year quarterback. It is unreal. I really think that the I don't want to say pump the brakes, but let's take our foot off the accelerator here as to what we expect out of Mac Jones in this camp. He's going up against a very deep and versatile defensive backfield. He's going up against young rookies that are going to be out there trying to prove themselves on the defensive line, and he's got a new offensive line in front of him. Um, let's just take our foot off the accelerator as to what we expect out of Mac Jones in what is just his second camp. People, he had a fantastic rookie season, one that was much better than I expected coming out of Alabama. But this is a smart kid. This is a great, but so much has been made about how good his rookie season was and how he is expected to perform here in his second year. If things don't go to plan, if he has a lot of new wide receivers and toys to play with. If things don't go perfectly, people are going to say that he's underachieved. And I don't have a problem with it. I really don't.
I think that's a very what's the word I'm looking for, Murph? A very courageous, I
Thank
guess is
you.
the best way for me to put it. Choice to be an underachiever. Look, bottom line, I think you've made an excellent point.
It's just what people are expecting.
Yeah, to
You
put
know,
those types of to put those types of expectations on a player is unfair, especially someone like Mac Jones, who is a rookie quarterback, had a good year in his first year, a very solid rookie year, and everybody's looking to build on that. You hear all about the offseason hype. He's worked with Tom House. He's doing much better things in
yep,
terms of throwing the football. He's coming in. He's in better shape. He's stronger. He's quicker. You're hearing all of that, and you're
yeah,
expecting him to come in and be Tom 2.0. And I think
right.
that's a lot of people, that may cause him to fall short of
But
expectation in a lot of
everybody's
people's
taking
minds.
Tom Brady year 5 here. Okay,
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. Even in Mac's year 5, it's not going to be Tom Brady. Okay, so just stop, people.
yeah,
Just stop. This is not the second coming. Let Mac Jones grow and mature as Mac Jones, and go out and hopefully win a playoff game or two at the end of this season, which I expect this team to do. But if
yeah,
it's not perfect coming out of the gate, look at this roster. Look at all of the new faces. Look at all of the new weapons that he's going to have to, get on the same page with. That takes time. It's not something that happens with off-season throwing when you're being covered by air.
yeah. It's true. It really is. And that's something that I think, and even those in our profession have to understand a little bit more when
Yep.
you cover a team, because all of a sudden, you start to see these dazzling throws. And we saw a couple in minicamp that looked excellent. And look, I can't say that nothing can be taken from these throws, because there were a few times where I saw Mac throw into coverage, actually hitting Trey Nixon on a couple of strides. Balls that he would have checked down last year, even in practice, even in training camp, that he wouldn't have been as aggressive in pursuing. Mac was aggressive in pursuing those this
Right.
time around. So there is going to be some change. There is going to be a little bit of growth there. And I think it's going to be a positive. But in terms of the expectations of him being the second coming, and really, I think taking this team on his back and saying, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do
Yep.
now. Those expectations need to be, I think, tempered just a little bit. So very interesting choice. I'm glad that you made that. I was a little more conservative in my pick. I didn't quite
Okay.
go
Yep.
the full value, but I respect it, my friend. I really and truly do, and I think you're onto something. Um, I went with a Michigan product, going off of Tom Brady. I think there is a chance that Josh Uche may fall short of some
Okay.
expectations. And look, I really hope I'm wrong on this, because
Right.
I love Josh. And I'm very confident in his ability to be able to be a very strong contributor to this linebacking core, especially with guys like Van Noy and Collins now not in the lineup. Gives him a few more reps. It gives him the opportunity to get in there. But I think in so many ways, the Patriots linebackers are going to have a huge target on their back. They're going
Right.
to be very closely watched. Everyone wants that need for speed, injecting the speed into the linebacker position. And look, for a guy that had a very good season in 2020, an excellent rookie season, it wasn't really that case in 2021. And I know
No.
he had the injury that kept him out for a little while, the ankle injury, that kept him out in mid-November. That was difficult for him to come back from, and Josh just simply wasn't the same player. If he's healthy and he's ready to contribute, I look for good things from Josh Uche without any question. But that speed, that athleticism, that system savvy, he's going to have that throughout training camp. And I think it's a little much to expect him to come in and be the savior of this linebacking core, especially if guys who haven't seen the field or younger players like a Cam McGrone or an Anthony Jennings struggle out of the block. It's going to be up to Josh Uche to carry that load to help keep Matt Judon and Juwan Bentley in check. That may be difficult for him to do. So for that reason, I don't think he's going to have a poor camp, but I think he may fall short of some people's expectations.
Right. I got you. I got you. And what we aren't totally on the same page, but no, I can agree with everything that you just said.
Absolutely. And you know what? Variety is the spice of life, my friend. So I do appreciate that. And I always appreciate your wisdom, your counsel, and your insight. But folks, we're not quite done with Murph's wisdom and counsel just yet, because to close out the show here in just a moment, we're going to talk about who Murph believes might exceed your expectations. And I'll give you my thoughts on the subject as well, as this Patriots training camp primer episode continues in just a moment. But first, folks, level with me. We've all been in a situation at some point in our lives when we were a little light on cash. Maybe you could only afford to put a few gallons of gas in your tank, or maybe you got another save the date and you're just wondering how you're going to be able to afford another wedding gift. That's where Dave can help. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. That's more money to fill your tank, buy a wedding gift, or catch up on bills. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any hangups. There's no interest and no credit check needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch and you need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from future you. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve, member FDIC. That's Dave. Future you will thank you. Patriots fans, we are ready to wrap things up here on the Locked On Patriots podcast this Monday episode. Hashtag Locked On Murph Monday with my good friend, columnist extraordinaire, Thomas Murphy of E2Gsports.com. And Murph, we talked a lot about players that may underachieve, may not live up to expectation in 2022. But, you know, the two of us, we love to end on a high note. So we're going to flip the script now, and we're going to talk about a player that might be flying under the radar in your estimation that might end up exceeding your expectations in training camp. Could be on offense, could be on defense. We're not going to limit the Belichickian prognosticating skills of my good friend here. Murph, take us home. Who is going to overachieve in camp this year and raise a few eyebrows doing it?
Okay, everybody's expecting me to say Jack Jones right now. I've been on the Jack Jones bandwagon, but it's going to be hard to overachieve as to how I feel about him. The guy that I think is going to overachieve in this rookie camp is because nobody sees him coming, and that's Sam Roberts.
Mm.
All right, Sam is in his rookie year. He's out of Northwest Missouri State. This kid has the talent to come in here and make a little noise, become part of the rotation, and I think we're going to hear his name an awful lot. And he was the Cliff Harris Award winner, which honors the nation's small college defensive player of the year. He was first team All-American for D2 CCA. You know, he's second team AP All-American performer. You know, this kid led a very dominant Bearcats defense this year. He had 18 tackles for a loss, 6.5 sacks in just 13 games. You're going to hear this kid's name a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field.
You know, I think you've got a very good chance of that happening. And look, I'm glad that you mentioned Sam Roberts, because defensive line is a position that I don't think is getting as much press as it should. Everybody's worried about the linebackers. Everybody's worried about the cornerbacks and the defensive backs. On offense, everybody's worried about the pass catchers, mostly the wide receivers. But the defensive line, I think, is where this team really could stand out or really could struggle, because one of the biggest problems they had last year was stopping the run. And because of that, they had some difficulty setting the edge, which caused some of that. But ultimately, interior defensive linemen really, I think, are going to be key in this team's defensive prowess in setting the tone for the rest of those skill position groups that are going to need to get in there and make plays. Sam is intriguing because he's a late round pick. Not a lot of people are talking about him. I completely agree with you. And I think he could come in, and I think he could have a very good opportunity to really be someone special.
A part of this defense, and he fits. He sits there at I think 6'5" and 295. He's got speed. He's very intriguing. I was happy when this pick was made. I love the film that I saw, and like you said, it's one of the guys that's flying under the radar. And I think that he's a perfect candidate for our overachiever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that you have a good opportunity to be right on that. And we'll save this tape, and we'll definitely come back to it, folks, when we have the opportunity to do so. You're probably not going to want to save this portion of it, because I'm going to give you mine. I'm going to go out on a limb here, Murph. And not a lot of people are going to expect this. And I know some people are probably going to crush me in the comments for this, but I'll say it anyway. I think Henry Anderson has a chance to come in and surprise some
Oh, all
people.
right, Mr.
I
Anderson.
believe
There
I
you
believe
go.
that there is a player lurking somewhere below what we saw last year that struggled with injury and didn't
Yep.
get a chance to really flash his talent and what he can do. But your guy, Steve Balestrieri, our resident
Yep.
voice of reason here on
We
Locked
both
On
loved it.
Patriots,
Yep.
was very, very much a proponent of this move. You were very much in favor of this move again last year. And when I look at Henry Anderson on paper and especially what he did with the Jets, and I look
Yep.
at the film on him, and I've been watching
Brilliant.
film on him a little bit lately to try to get myself back ingratiated in what he can do. He's capable of playing all over the defensive front. We've seen him align
Right.
at the 9 technique. He can align at the edge. He can
Yep.
be in the 0, playing
Oh,
the nose. He's, Patriots have had struggles in defending mobile quarterbacks, and I think Anderson is the perfect guy to move around the line, help create some favorable matchups. He's by definition, he's a run stuffer. That's what the Patriots brought
right.
him in here for. In 2020, the last year that he was with the Jets, posted the third highest run stuff rate among players with at least 500
Oh,
snaps. His presence was absolutely, counted on to help that Jets, line. He definitely was counted on to do it with the Patriots here in
yep.
2021. But he can also perform against the pass. People forget that he was a very good pass rusher for the Jets
Right.
in 2018, a couple of years before. He was one of their better pass defenders. There was a good amount of opportunity for him to be able to pressure the quarterback, get after. He had 7 sacks, 16 quarterback hits in 2018. So this is a kid that can play all over the line. So many people are just counting him as an also ran. Oh, I've got
Yep.
him on the cutting room floor. I didn't even
No.
bother to look at his name. I think Henry has a chance to come in and do
Yep.
something good. So I'm hitching my star right now. I'm hitching my wagon to the
There
Henry
you
Anderson
go.
star about being an underachiever, about an overachiever. I think this has the opportunity to be under the radar, and virtually no one is talking about him. And I think that's a mistake. Maybe not a mistake to Henry because I think it's giving him motivation, but I think it's a mistake to other people to forget that this guy's on the roster. Patriots
That's
spent
it.
pretty good money bringing him in. There's a reason for it. I think he shows it this year.
Yeah, Bill saw something. Steve and I and you all loved this signing last year, and it's shocking that we both went with the same position group for an overachiever here. A lot of people have forgotten about Mr. Anderson, and I keep calling him that because it's Mr. Anderson. I just freaking love it.
You gotta love it.
So yeah. Let's peel back the curtain of the matrix, and hopefully you're right.
Absolutely. And we hope we're right as well, Murph. And you know what? The Patriots hope we're right as well, because if these start coming to fruition, with the exception of our underachievers, we want those guys to
Yep.
overachieve. But if we're right on these two, and the Patriots do have a couple of good budding defensive linemen here that can really help them, one with a veteran presence and one with a little bit of rookie swagger, the Pats defensive line may be pretty good for the next couple of years, and hopefully that will indeed be the case. But folks, it's always, always an honor when our good friend, the Count of Murphy Fisto himself, joins us here on the Patriots Pod. But it's always, always a blast getting your wisdom and counsel here. Folks, if you are not following my good friend Thomas Murphy, please do so at Team Murph 207. All the great content that he puts out for E2Gsports.com. Point, click, learn enrichment material, not only the Patriots, but also covering the Red Sox and all things Boston sports. Check out everything their great writers, all of their great writers, do at E2Gsports.com. And of course, you can catch Murph each and every week here on Locked On Patriots, but most importantly, on his very own podcast, co-hosted with two great friends of the program, Steve Balestrieri and Claire Cooper. It's One Patriots Place. Catch it wherever you get your podcasts. But until next time, always honored, always humbled by your presence, Don Murph. Thank you so much for joining me.
Always a pleasure, buddy. I'll be back here every Monday until they lock the door.
Absolutely. And that day is not coming anytime soon, folks. We will not be locking the door on Murph. Never have, never will. Until next time, Foxborough faithful, stay safe, stay well, be the change you wish to see in the world. Now that you've made Locked On Patriots your first listen, make your second listen our good friends at Locked On NFL, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Mike Debate. Have a great day, everyone.
Go Pats.